Hello, welcome to Missy's Imaginings. I thought we would go ahead and continue our experiment to sew and chat to finish up the outfit that we had ready for this guy. And we got the formal one done, the more performance style, so the casual one will be next. So for this casual outfit, I have odd color choices. I'm just going with some stuff that I grabbed out of my bins because I wanted something to do during break at work. So I thought, well, I'll cut out this pattern so we can sew it together. And when I'm getting ready for work in the morning, it was, you know, it was 3:30 in the morning, so it's very dark in my room, and I don't want to turn the bright light on right away. And so I grabbed some. So I have this like greenish tinted knit for the pants, and it doesn't really match anything, but I thought, well, I brought it, I'll cut it out. So I don't know, something different to try. So I'm going to do the cinch waist pants, and I do have pieces cut out to do just a side seam pocket. So it's not the same as the inset pocket on this, where it is, well, let's see if we can show, where it's an actual, just like a normal front pocket here that you can, you know, see the rim, but it's a side seam pocket that you won't see any part of the pocket because you'll only see the side of the pants. So that's what these are. If you've sewn a lot, you're probably familiar with those type of pockets, but I'm going to put those kind of pockets in the pants. So that's something new that I haven't done in pants before. These will just have folded over to make a casing and have a drawstring waistband. And then I did cut fabric to do ankle cuffs. So they will have ankle cuffs. And I've made a couple other pair. Let's see, I'm going to reach back behind me. So some of the harem style pants with the drop crotch in them for the bigger fellas also had that ankle cuff. So that's what we're putting on the bottom of these. So when I say ankle cuff, that's what I mean. It means like on the sleeve of a sweatshirt or the bottom of sweatpants, how they have that little cuff on the bottom. So we'll be doing that, so I'll kind of show how I put those on there. I've had several people ask, oh, where do you find cuffs that small? Well, it's the same fabric, so I'll show you how to do that in case you're curious. Then the vest will be gold, and it'll match this. The back will be this gold color, and then the front will be gold, but then if you reverse the vest, it'll be this like tropical type of fabric, which is kind of fun. I don't know, we'll try it, see how it looks. Then for the shirt, it is another knit, a little bit bigger texture to it. So this is the color, it's like a very slightly variegated beige color. This is the inside because there's writing on it. It was just some fabric someone gave to me, but I like the color. I thought it was kind of nice and neutral. So the shirt is going to be this. It will also have cuffs on the sleeves, but then I thought, well, let's try, because it's going to have just an opening that'll have the little band here and a band collar, and I cut that out of the ultra leather. So it'll have like a leather collar on it. So the collar will go like this, and then the little band down the front will be that. So I don't know, we'll see if it'll work. We'll try it. And so that's the pieces that we're going to put together for this project. And we'll just go ahead and continue our theme of visiting for a little bit and see if we can get another outfit ready for him. Okie doke, here we go. So I thought I would go ahead and just start with the pants, just because they're going to be simple, and that way I can switch out this fella's pants. So let's see, I'm going to start with the crotch seam of both pieces, And then when we open those up, I'm going to sew the pockets on the side seam of both sides of the back and the front. And I think the one with the deepest cut here is the back. I don't remember. Oh well, we'll figure it when we put it on him. And then when we sew the pockets on, well, I guess I'll just go over that when we get there. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly when this video will be posted. Oh, and this fabric is, let's see, is it the same on both sides? I think one side isn't quite as prominent as far as the texture, so we'll put the most textured side, at least the side that looks the most textured to me, together. We'll make that the right side. And this hopefully will sew a little bit better than the velvet did. Oh my goodness, that wasn't very fun, but I liked how it turned out. But and I'm not really going to finish the edges of this either, just because it's a knit and it's not going to fray, so that'll save me from having to put everything through the serger machine. So, but anyway, I'm on the last bit of my vacation, which is so sad. Oh my goodness, I have just loved being home, but I did have a project, and the house is not new anymore, and so I need new steps up to my porch, and what is, I think there's six or seven steps, I guess, up to the porch. And so my daughter and I successfully got all the old ones off, because the wood was getting really rotten, and then we were going to put the new ones on, but because the braces were not in very good shape, then I have to cut new braces to put underneath the risers, so that I have something more stable to nail the new boards onto, because it really is more of a temporary fix, because I don't really have the time or tools to build a whole new set of stairs, so I'm just trying to improvise with wood that I already had from an old cedar picnic table that was out in the weather too long, and so I salvaged wood from that. And anyway, so we got the part taken off, so right now my porch has no steps. I found mail that I guess they got to the edge, and I did put boards like across, that there's, you know, the side has the handrails, and there's a board, and then slats to the railings, you know, the handrails. And so I just put boards like across a couple of those to prevent people from trying to go up my steps, because there aren't any. I don't want anyone to get hurt, you know, and sue me or something. So anyway, I saw that the post person had thrown a couple packages up onto the porch this morning when I got back from the store. It's like, oh, okay, that's what we're gonna do. So hopefully I won't order a doll until I have stairs. So I really don't want the post person to throw a piece of resin up there on my porch. But anyway, so we got the old stairs off, and then I went to work on it, and I got the bottom risers, or not risers, but, oh, should I scribble? Maybe I could scribble here. I'll grab a scribble tablet here. I don't know why I'm doing this, but, you know, part of chatting. We'll just make it interesting. So we have the risers, you know, would come up like this, and there's, you know, however many of them. But some of this wood is kind of rotten and is broken. So I've put in pieces here, and then two more here, and then one inside here, so that when I put the new board on top, like this, I have something to actually screw down into to hold it in place, because those other ones, the tips broke off and there wasn't anything there. So I got those pieces done so I could actually do the very first step, which I thought, okay, we're moving, we're making progress. And I went to put it in, and the screw went in like an inch and then just stopped. It wouldn't go in any farther. And granted, I don't have a very powerful drill gun, but so it wouldn't do anything else. And so I pulled it out, tried again, did the same thing. So then I thought, well, maybe I just need to nail, you know, just hammer and nail it. So then the the nail got stuck like an inch in. And I tried for like 15 minutes to get that nail out of the board, and I could not do it. Of course, then the sun's coming around the corner, and it's been like 105 degrees, and I was just dying. I thought, I'm getting dizzy, I'm getting sick to my stomach, it's too hot out here. So I came in, and there it sits with just slats across the front to keep people from going up. But I have no steps, so I should have worked on that this morning, but I had some other stuff I had to do this morning, and right now it's too hot to be outside, so I'm not doing any of that up there. So I'm sewing instead. I have no porch steps. Goodness. Anyway, so yeah, that's been my last few days on vacation. I had all these plans to get that project done, and then the temperature just skyrocketed, and I haven't done it. So, oh well, such is life. So now these little guys, I'm going to sew very close to the edge inside the seam allowance. So I'm going to sew these with just maybe 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just a little bit of a seam allowance, because then the side seams will form like the top and bottom of the opening of the pocket. So this part is going to be inside the seam allowance. So there we go. So we'll do that. Oh, press the wrong button. Alright, I'll back tack a little bit. I have a button here for a locking stitch, but I just don't use it that often. I was never really trusting of that stitch for some reason. I suppose I should be, but oh well. Alright, so now we'll put this one in place. So yeah, so we're just gonna have little side seam pockets. We'll just mix it up a little bit. I don't know that I've ever done side seam pockets in anything. I don't know. You'd think I remember since they're my videos, but I don't remember. After all the projects over time, I don't remember if I've ever done anything. I know I've sewn these kind of pockets in like a puffy vest. Maybe I'll put a picture of a vest there that I sewed. If I have a picture, I think I do. And I put these kind of pockets in that vest, and that was kind of a fun project. I made a few of those. Some blue ones and some camouflage ones, but I've since sold them all, so I don't have any more. So once we get these on, it looks like this. So there's one piece all sewn together. Now we'll do the next one. But yeah, I was going to say, not that it's important or anything, but I had some fun right when I went on vacation. When I started, my daughter helped me out and dyed my hair. So if you noticed any purple in my hair, I was tired of looking at the gray for a while. I thought, I want to mix it up a little. And I've had people tell me, oh, but you've earned that gray, which may be the case. That may be true, but I used to tell my students it was earned from teaching. But I wanted something different, so, and as you can see, a lot of times I have music going and you can't really hear the joy of my foot that won't stay up. This poor machine, I've had it for several years. Well, let's see, I think Savannah might have been, 4? maybe 4 or 5 when I got this machine. She's now 24. So yeah, a good 20 years I've had this machine. And I've cleaned out the bobbin case myself, but I've never taken it in to be serviced. So I'm sure it needs to be serviced. It probably needs a new belt. And because every once in a while it'll make a horrible, horrible squeaking, screeching sound. That's the belt. And then my foot doesn't always want to stay up. As you can see, I try to put it up and it just falls down. So I think some of the little cogs in the foot lever are worn out. I don't know if that's even something they can replace, but my poor little machine needs some attention, and I just haven't gotten that far. And then I was thinking of doing it, a couple months ago, but then with all the new conditions in the world, I'm not sure how much that I mention will affect how the video gets flagged, so we'll just say the conditions of the world. But it's hard to schedule things, and so I'm not sure if they're taking any repairs or servicings at this time. So here it sits in my sewing station, the same as always. There we go. Alright, so there's those 2 pockets, like so. There we go. My next order of business, and this is really funny. I got this fabric, and it's a real dark, like forest green color. When I think of, Crayola crayons, that's what I think of, is that deep forest, like a combination of the forest and pine green. It's got the pine kind of coloring to it, but it's dark like the forest green. I think, the pine green wasn't quite as dark. So this is very dark. But it was amazing to me. I was looking through my thread, and I have thread that's the exact same color. I don't know how that happened. But here we go. So we're going to pin these together, matching up the side seams. And I'm going to have the side seams lay towards the pocket. And what I'm going to do in order to sew these together is realize that I just made an error. So how do I want to fix it? Can you tell what my error is by looking at it? I sewed it at the top, but I need to be able to fold that down to make a casing. Well, since it's going to be for the Resin Soul, and he's taller than the Bobobi Apollo, perhaps I'll just put a casing inside by adding some bias tape, because I really don't want to take these pockets off. So yeah, we're just going to leave it here. So anyway, I'm going to sew down probably a 1/4 inch, or maybe 3/8 of an inch, and then I will sew around the outside of the pocket all the way around, and then back up, and I'll cross the seam where the pocket is attached back to the seam allowance, so that it is about a 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the pocket, and then it'll just kind of angle up to the seam allowance, and then I'll come straight down the leg. So there's just going to be a little bit of a tack here, like 3/8 of an inch, and that will have the side seams together. And then you go around the pocket and back up, kind of angling over to where the side seam would be, and then pivot and come straight down. And then where you didn't sew creates the opening for the hands to go into the pocket. So that's how we do that. So I will do that, and then I'll be back because that's what we'll do. Now that the pockets are in and the side seams are done, I am going to add the cuffs to the legs. So as promised, let's add some more light. I think my sunshine is kind of going behind a cloud over here or something. The haze, maybe. So, to make the cuffs on a neckline or wrist cuff or these leg cuffs, I've cut fabric out of the same kind of fabric, but you want to make sure that the grain of your fabric is going the direction of the short side rather than the long side, because you want the stretch to go with the long side, if that makes sense. You want it to stretch sideways more than lengthways. So you just cut your fabric twice as long, well, add a seam allowance of course, but twice as long as you want the cuff length to be, as far as from the sleeve to the end of the garment. So these cuffs are going to be like that deep. And you cut your cuff shorter than the edge of whatever you're going to sew it onto. So here is my hemline of the pant leg, and then here you can see that that's about 3/4 of an inch shorter, maybe 5/8 of an inch shorter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this with the right side out, like so. And then I'm going to anchor one end. Here, let's turn it so it's actually like ready to go into the machine. There we go. So, and then I usually will have the inseam or the leg seam go towards the back, which I believe is this side. So I'm going to have my seam allowance from the side seam go that direction. There we go. Then I will go ahead and fold this in half, and then I'll take the raw edge and I'm going to just, you know, match it up to the edge here where I'm going to start sewing. And then as I feed it into the machine, I'm just going to pull this so that the length matches. Now, as I'm looking at this, I hardly had to stretch that at all. So actually, because I want this to be a little tighter, I'm going to cut this a little shorter. I didn't want to cut it too short on the pattern because sometimes you have fabric that doesn't stretch as much. And so these, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut off 1/4 of an inch of the length so that I have to stretch it a little bit more to get it to fit. But that way it'll have a little bit tighter of a cuff, but it'll still go over the foot okay. So let's see, I'm sorry my hand is in the way. And if you want, you can pin that first part, but it's only going to be to anchor. And then as I feed it through the machine, I'm going to pull this so that this edge matches the edge of the pants. And as you can tell by this little curve here, you can tell this edge is being stretched more than this edge. And you can always make this even shorter, but you just want to ensure that you don't cut it so short that when you stretch it, it won't reach the end. So like if it was only this long, like if it, you know, I anchored here, then this has a hard time reaching the end. I suppose it really could. I could take another 1/4 inch. Not a 1/2 inch, but 1/4 inch off. We'll do one more 1/4 inch. Actually, I kind of think I like that. So there we go. So it looks like I'm cutting off a total of a 1/2 inch from the length of the pieces. So I will now go ahead and put this in here. There we go. I don't know why I picked this green color. I mean, when I got to work, I could have, you know, thought, oh no, I don't like the color, and then just waited and not cut it out. But I thought, oh well, let's go ahead and go with it. So, alright, so we're going to go ahead and anchor this. I'm going to back tack. And then I usually grab my thread just to help me get it through the feed dogs there. Now I'm going to take this edge of my cuff and I'm going to pull, and be sure you get both you know, both layers there. And then you want to make sure that the underneath layer here is even with that, so that both layers get caught in your seam. I'm going to pull it to match, but I'm not pulling the actual pant leg. I'm only pulling the edge of the cuff. I'm going to kind of hold it, and I'm going to use the thread from my back tack here to help me pull that through, all the while keeping that taut with the edge here. Keep going. And we get to the end. There we go, and we'll back tack this side too. There we go, pull it out. Dun, 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 dun. Sorry, my hand keeps getting in the way. And now we have the cuff sewn onto the bottom. There we go. So when we sew it together, then that's what the bottom of the leg will look like. And you can do that for a neckline, you can do it for the end of a sleeve, whatever you want to put it on there. So that's how we do that. So we'll just put a cuff on the bottom, so they'll be nice, relaxing pants. Let's turn this right side out. Okay, so see how fast these go together? It's just so fun to do something that goes together very quickly. So here's the pockets. Dun dun dun. And well, maybe if I can get my hand here. Okay, there we go. So here's the side seam pocket. So it's hidden in the seam. So other than seeing the seam, you don't really see a pocket there, but it's there. So there's the inset pocket on the side seam. So these will have real pockets. I don't know why I felt like that was important, but evidently I did. So the next step is going to be to go ahead and I'm going to have the seam allowance from the cuff to go up towards the leg, and then I'll start from the heel, or the bottom hemline of one leg. I'll go up to the crotch and then back down the other leg to put together the inseam. And then once that's done, I'll probably go ahead and grab this fabric, and maybe I'll just cut a piece for a waistband since I did the pockets too high. So I'll just make a little waistband and put it on that will just be, oh, maybe a ½ inch. I'll have to try it on my fella and see how big I want it. Or it might just be a matter of adding a band that will fold over, so that once this is folded with the seam allowance, that's the top of the pant, and then my addition will make the casing. Then, let's see, which is the front and which is the back. I gotta check it out here. This is the back. So my pockets, I need to make sure that when I do the waistband, they go towards the front of the pant. So I'll double check my measurements too, but I think this is the back. So I'm going to go ahead and tack the top of the pocket towards the front on each side before I put the waistband on, just so that once I get to where I'm pinning on a waistband, I don't have to worry about which way my pockets are going. But I believe, since this looks shorter than this one, this is the front, and so I'll go ahead and just tack this pocket down at the top, make sure it's going the right direction there, and then this one, of course, we'll tack it towards the front as well, and then I'll go ahead and put on my extra fabric for a seam allowance so that I can fold it over, and then I'll probably put in elastic, or I might just do a drawstring. You know, I'm not sure yet. I'll have to see what colors I have for drawstring fabric. And yeah, then these will be done. So I'll go ahead and get that finished up. And now that the pants are done, I'm going to go ahead and start on the shirt. We'll see how this goes. So I went ahead and cut the slit, just like here, and then I cut a little bit across, just a little bit, probably not even as far as this line. So what I'm going to try, we'll see if this will work, is I'm going to line up the top edge with just the raw edge of the fabric. So this is going to extend because I can always trim what I don't want later if this works according to plan. So let's see here, and I may end up, let's see, I might snip down just a little bit here. Let's see, right here, down, because I want there to be just a little bit of a flap right here. So we'll see if this goes according to plan. I'm not sure if it will, but we'll try. So the first thing is I'm going to sew along this edge, and it'll probably be like an 1/8 of an inch seam. And then I'm going to, you know, pull it back against the seam. But then I'm going to, when I fold this back, I'm going to fold it, and it's hard when it's not actually connected, so that it overlaps this side. So I'm not going to wrap it all the way around this fabric right here, but rather I'm going to have the edge come out a little bit farther. And I'll do that on both sides because I want this leather, well, it's faux leather, but the leather part to overlap itself. And then the collar we'll put on a little bit later. But I'm going to see if I can get this to work, so we'll try it. So I got to sewing, and this took a lot more finesse than I anticipated. And I think this would have looked better had I not trimmed quite so deep to the side, but it's okay. It's okay. And then I also didn't account for the fact when I cut out the fabric that, of course, the knit is stretchy, and this stuff doesn't stretch very much. It has a little bit of stretch the way I cut it because I intentionally cut it so it would have some, and I didn't end up with any pleats. So I'm going to call this a win in spite of all my battles, but you can see how there's a little bit of a pucker here even though there's no no pleats. But yeah, so it was kind of a challenge. With it being this thick, I don't know that I'll try to put any type of closures like snaps or anything. I kind of like just the way that looks. Hopefully his head will be able to get through here. If not, I can always just take the head off the hook when I use the shirt. So anyway, so that's the neckline, and I'm gonna call it a victory with as much as I struggled, but I didn't film a lot of it just because I had to have this up to where I could see it, manipulate it, and turn it. And then I did just hand stitch the inside down so that it would be a nice finished edge in there. So on to my sleeves. I'm going to go ahead and, with right sides together, I'm going to put the cuffs on the same way I did on the pants. I'm just going to anchor that and then give it a stretch to the other side and put the cuffs on. Then I'll go ahead and put the sleeves in, and then start from the edge of the cuff, so up the sleeve to the armpit, down the side, and hem it, and this shirt will be done. And then we can go ahead and take a look at these two first garments on the doll and see how it fits and how it looks. Here is our outfit thus far. So the pants are a little bit long, but that's okay, and I think it has to do with the fact that I had forgotten to measure for the waistband, but maybe not, because I think the crotch is placed correctly, so I maybe just added a little bit more length than I needed. The pockets look good. We'll take his hand out here, and so we got our pockets. They're all finished in, and I just went ahead and added the waistband the same way I would do the cuffs, and then just did a drawstring in the waist. Then the shirt fits pretty well. I think, just like in the jacket, I think the shoulders could be more broad, and then it would give a little bit better of a fit. But even for all the the struggles I had with putting on the faux leather for the front trim and the collar, it's not too bad. Not too bad. And the sleeve length is okay. And I did go ahead and wire this guy because the cakiness of his arms was just driving me crazy. So yeah, so we went ahead and wired his arms so that he's not so kicky and his arms kind of stay down a little bit better. But yeah, so all in all, I think it's okay. And that's what the shirt looks like. So next I'll go ahead and work on the vest, which is kind of the fun part because it's pretty easy to put together. The last thing we'll put together here is the vest. And vests are pretty simple to do. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to put the fronts to the back at the shoulders for both the gold piece and then for this piece. And because it's going to be reversible, because I want the option to have either this on the front or all gold on the front, I'm not going to refer to it as a lining because it's reversible. So I have the decorative side and the gold side, we'll call it, I guess. So I'm going to put them together at the shoulders, and then I'll come back and kind of show you how we line it up and where we go from there. So my pieces are put together. So now this, you're going to say, oh my goodness, yeah, it's really tough. Here we go. Okay, but there are a couple of things you want to keep in mind, and so, you know, it's worth going over. Yeah. So what we're going to do is is now we're going to be ready to put the vest together. And so here's the kicker, or the clue, I suppose, is when you're going to put a vest together like this, we're going to sew the armhole, and then we're going to sew from, let's see, which one do I want to start with? Probably about the tip of the vest front down here. I wonder if that's in camera. I should probably look. So the tip of the front, and then across, then up the front center, around the neck, down the front center, and back down to the tip, and then this armhole again. And yeah, so that's what you do. So when you're going to do the vest, you do not sew the side seams, just only those. And so then once we get that part done, we'll come back and well, I'll probably do it before I come back. So yeah, so when you're going to sew it, you do the armholes, and like the front half of the hem on the front, up the front, around the neck, down the front, and the center front hem. But you don't do the side seams or the bottom of the back. And then we'll show why when we come back. Alright, so both layers are sewn together, and I went ahead and opened the seam allowance on both sides. And after I got it sewed, I did trim my seam allowance in the armholes and around the front to half the amount, so it's like an eighth of an inch. That just makes it easier to turn. So now the next step is to actually turn it right side out. So I have these little tools. They're little turning tools, and they're like for turning tubes, but we're just not going to use that part. But I like to use a turning tool, so I'm going to find this corner, and I probably won't puncture it with the pointed end, just because sometimes you can break through your stitching that way. And so I'm going to anchor it inside that corner, like so. It looks like that. And then this little tip I'm going to take back up through the shoulder. I'm anchoring against myself here. And then gently, because your shoulder is very narrow. And so I kind of, as I go forward through the shoulder. I'm also going to attempt to minimize the bulk that goes through there at any one time by kind of pulling this a little bit. Gently, gently. And at least on 3rd scale, it is a larger opening than like on 4th scale and, you know, Barbie stuff. So then if you open it up and gently pull, you can get a hold of that fabric and then gently pull it through. And you kind of have to work it a little bit. It's sometimes not very fun. And this gold fabric is really stiff. So, yeah. Well, I had some excitement today. I had to order a new laptop. My little laptop that I use for everything in life, including editing videos and uploading them to YouTube, it was just tired. It was a gift from a student, which was so amazing. She's just an amazing student and a friend of my daughter's. And when she graduated, she decided that I needed a new laptop because at the time, the one I had would take probably a half an hour to 40 minutes to boot up. And so she just decided that was not okay. And so she got me the one I have now. And I love it. I've used it for almost 5 years, I think. And but now if the battery, or not the battery, but the power pack is not actually attached to the wall, the adapter, I guess I should say, it just turns off. So I can't even charge it anymore. And so it was time to get a new laptop. So I actually went on Amazon. Let's see, I've got to pay attention to what I'm doing here. Okay. And so I ordered one, and it was strange to me that with all the improvements that they're always making in technology, the improvements they made to me were not improvements. So not only was it hard to find a laptop that had all the stuff I wanted, I actually couldn't find the one I wanted. The laptop I have now has, let's see, 3 USB ports, an HDMI port, an SD port, and a CD DVD driver writer, all included in the laptop with a 10-key keypad. And to find all those things in a laptop, I couldn't find one unless I wanted to pay $1,500, which I did not. I shouldn't exaggerate. I think it was more like $900. But still, even that one, I don't know that it had the DVD writer. So anyway, I ended up finding one that I liked. It does have 2 USB ports and an SD port, but I had to buy a DVD CD player writer separately in order to burn CDs, and then, yeah, it only had 2 USB ports, so I'll have to get, you know, one of those little other gizmos that you can plug in different flash drives and stuff. So anyway, I had to kind of make do with what was available, but I was a little nervous because I had to work today. I had to work overtime. Oh, I am back to work. And it was all going to be delivered today. And as you know, we have no front porch steps, so we had to leave a note on the boards going across the steps to leave parcels in a chair next to the steps. And then I just watched my phone for the delivery so that it wouldn't be sitting, you know, a laptop sitting out in the sun. Hopefully it was shaded enough, but it wouldn't be sitting out there, you know, to be randomly whisked away by someone. So it all arrived safely, and I ordered a new scanner because my scanner died. It would just scan a great big green page. That's all it would do. So hopefully now that I have that, I'll be able to continue doing patterns for you because now I can actually scan them again. So this is all turned right side out, and I'm going to press it so it's really, really flat. But here's the reason that we don't do the sides. When you're going to go ahead and put these together, we're going to take the front to the back. This part is a little bit challenging sometimes until you get the feel for it. But you're going to start with the hems that go together, and then you're going to sew up to the armpit seam, which would be here, and then while it's in the machine, you're going to have to swivel things around, and you kind of swivel stuff out of the way, and then you come back down the other side. And hopefully my hand won't be in the way and be terrible for you. But I'm not really going to pin a lot except for the underarm seam, because I want that seam to match up as closely as possible. So I am going to put one pin in the underarm seam, but that's all I'm going to do, because there has to be so much fluctuation in your fabric as you move it around. And so I'm going to pin one pin right there. Here we go. And let's see, it looks like this side's the closest to my machine. And it doesn't really matter which side you start with. So this one happened to be closest to the machine, so we'll start with that. So we're going to start here, and there we go. We'll back tack. We're going to go up. Okay, so I'm approaching the underarm, and you can tell you've got kind of this mess of fabric here. And so I'm trying to make sure everything is flat until I get right to the underarm. And when I get to that seam, I'm going to go ahead and take my pin out. And now, if my foot will stay up, I'm going to swivel this around and match up the side seams as I come back down, and make sure I don't have any pleats under there. And now I'm going to come back down the other side. There we go. I had to get over the seam allowances. There we go. We're going to come down the other side. I'm trying to keep my hand flat. I hope it's not in the way. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. We'll get the threads out of the way here. And then trim those. Maybe. All right. So now, when we flip it, dun dun dun, I go ahead and I open the seam that I just sewed. I open it all the way. There we go. And then put that together. So I open those seams and line up the seam on one side with the seam on the other. And then that is what produces that finished armhole. And that does your side seam. So then I'll do the other side as well. And then once that's done, then I press this hem up inside. Just turn it up 1/4 inch and press it, and then I hand stitch the bottom. And that way I can hide my stitches. But the hemline from the back of the front that goes to the side, or the side of the front, and then the back, and then onto the next piece, I just do that by hand. I slip stitch it by hand and hide those stitches. And that way your vest is all finished on this side and this side. So then all I'll have to do is put the closure on it, whatever I decide to do, and then we'll go ahead and be able to see what it looks like with the outfit all together. But I wanted to go ahead and have a gold vest in case I wanted to use it with that other performance set. So I thought that's why I would use this as all gold, and then this one can be more casual. So there we go. That's what it'll look like. Oh, and then here's the, like if you see it with the back and the front together. But we'll go ahead and finish that up, and that's how we do this, the side seams, just in case you were wondering on doing a vest. And that's how it's sewn together. So we'll finish up the vest, and then we'll take a look and see how it looks on the fella. So I just thought I would come, I'm putting the hem together, And for anyone who might be a new sewer, I was just going to show when I put this together. Of course, if you're experienced, you'll yawn, and that's okay. But if you're new, it's just showing a way that you can sew these two edges together and then have the edge look close to what your machine did. So I've already kind of started, so I've got a start on here. But simply you want to start like on one side where your needle will come out right on the ironed edge, and then you'll take your needle, if I can make sure my needle's not going to poke me, and you're going to go into the ironed edge of the opposite side from where your thread is coming out. If I can do it sideways here. I am sideways, so sorry about that. Here we go. And then come out on that same edge, so it just looks like that. Let's see, hopefully that'll show on camera. And then pull it through, and then wherever that thread comes out, now on this side you're going to do the same thing. So you go to the opposite piece of fabric, and you're just going to go in on the very edge of where that's ironed, an ironed fold, and then you're going to go along that fold and come and hope that your thread doesn't knot. Let's see here, I gotta pull the right piece of thread to get that loop. And then usually I'll kind of go a ways, and then I'll go ahead and give that thread a little tug to pull it tight, but then that gives you a hidden seam so that you can't really see your sewing, you just see that nice finished edge. So I just continue all the way across the hemline like that, just from one piece of fabric, pull it snug, and then I go to the next piece of fabric and just pick up, and I'm picking up, oh, they're about 1/8 of an inch stitches, I guess, and you can do smaller ones if you have the patience for it. I tend to be very impatient, and so now I'm getting close to my pin, so I can go ahead and take that out, and then I'll continue. So now I'm on the top piece of fabric, so now I'll go into the bottom one again, and I'm going right where that thread came out, and then I'm going to do my 1/8 of an inch slip through there on the bottom. Now I'll go to the top, and yeah, so that's how you can make that seam. And I am really wobbly today. Can you tell I've been up since 3:30 this morning? Oh my goodness. So there we go. And you're just basically taking the needle. Oh, the sun just went behind a cloud. Sorry about that. The lighting just got really dim because here, let's see. I'll open the blind, maybe it'll help a little. There we go. That was weird. You can tell I use natural lighting as much as possible, because then when the sun goes behind a cloud, or the clouds go in front of the sun, it takes away my lighting. So right here is where the thread is, so that's where I inserted the needle on the other piece of fabric. Then you go and just pull it, and then just a little tug to make sure it's secure, but that's what can give you that nice finished edge. And then of course when it's done, I'll press it. But so if you're a new sewer and you're just learning some things and starting to make your own dolly things, that's just a way that you can get that real pretty little seam on a hem or around a neckline if you're sewing down the facing and you don't want your thread to show. And then you just will make a tiny little knot and then pull it through here, like if I was going to do my knot, and then I take my needle inside the fabric and come out somewhere else, and then I pull it until it wrinkles a little bit, cut the thread, and you know, remove my needle. But then when I straighten out my fabric again, that thread will go inside and then it won't even show. So that's kind of how I finished that off. So I just thought I'd pop that in there before we put on the closures and put it on the doll. Here is our finished vest, and I thought a while about how I wanted to do the closures because I wanted it to be reversible. So you can't really use snaps, because if you use snaps, then they're going to end up showing on one side. You're going to see the back of the stitching of the snaps, because a lot of times you have a button on one side, a snap on the other. So it was a little more difficult to do that. Now going through my brain, I could probably figure it out, but I went with a little bit easier route. So I simply have some white jewelry elastic, and I wanted cream, but nevertheless I used that. And I just made little loops and sewed them on with a bead on one side and then another bead on the other side, so it'll work like a frog. And unfortunately I only had 7 of the beads, so this one's round, but they'll simply go on by looping the elastic over the bead, and then it gives it a little bit of a double-breasted appearance, because you'll have 2 sets of buttons. So it'll look like this when it's closed. Now my hands are probably going to be in the way. Let's see, we'll loop that over. So you could choose, you know, your own method of how you want to close that, or if you even want it to be reversible. Another way might be with a double toggle zipper. You could probably do it. Here, I'll put my thumb upside down. It might be easier. There we go. So you can have both of the beads on this side. And then the other way that it can work is for the gold side. And I sewed the little elastics on the more casual side, because I obviously would want the gold side to be a little bit more dressy with less appearance. So this way the toggle elastic can still work and go over the bead on the other side. I know my hands are going to be in the way. Sorry about that. So let's see. So it can button this way and have the vest stay closed, and those gold beads are going to show. And I just thought, well, you know, I'm going to keep the same kind of theme in finishing on the dressier side of the vest. So it will look like this, because that performance outfit had the gold trim and a little bit of pearl and a little bit more shininess to it. So I thought, well, we'll go ahead and use this and kind of bling it up a little bit to go with that performance, and then it can be worn under the jacket. Unfortunately, I think the jacket's in a box somewhere. But anyway, it can go under that velvet black jacket with the gold sleeves, and look pretty nice. So that's our reversible vest. And we can, if you want the closure just to not show at all, you can do the closure inside. So it would look like this. So we'll go ahead and put him in this vest, and then we'll look at the whole outfit. But I just thought we'd kind of go over how that actually closes. And here we go. Here's the finished outfit. So there's the vest with the casual side. I thought we'd start with that just because that's the one that goes with this outfit. So let's see, we can move over here with a little better light, but you can see the gold back on the vest, and then the shirt with the leather neckline, and then our casual vest with the tropical print there, just for something fun. And then here's the whole outfit together, and yeah, so not too bad. Do you want to see the gold? Okay, just a minute. And here's the gold. So there we go. Yeah, so there's the gold front with the gold beads. In truth, it kind of reminds me of something they would have worn in The Hobbit. I don't know, it just kind of has that vibe. I don't know. And then the back is the same as the front. And what's really funny is looking at it now with the gold and the beige in the vest and the shirt, I'm really not hating the green pants. I'm thinking they're okay. It just kind of gives a little bit of a different look. you know, like a draw away, but a complement to the color scheme. So yeah, I'm not hating that. I think it's okay. He still needs shoes, but yeah, there we go. So there's the outfit. It's all finished, and thanks for coming along and having a chat. And hopefully this was kind of helpful and inspiring as you use the pattern. It is already on the website, so I think it's called the Bobobi Casual pattern. So there you go. Enjoy, happy sewing, and I'll see you next time. Bye!